Hey folks, it's been a while, but today in the product round, I'm talking about a topic that is actually so interesting. I wanted to comment on it in a bit more personal way. And the topic is the AI hype. And is it actually justified? Is it on the way down? Do we feel like the bubble is bursting? And what are the potential consequences of all of this? So if you feel like AI has been overplayed in the last, few months or even, the last couple of years, you're probably right. But the AI hype is far from dying down, at least in terms of the VC investment that goes towards AI startups. So I looked up some data in terms of the size of the VC deals and the numbers. And from Q1 to Q2 2024, there was an 8% growth of investment in AI startups, which made up 28% of all the investment volume in tech. So 28%, almost a third of all VC funding is now going towards companies that are doing something with AI. And that considering that the overall deal value continues to decrease and has been 7% lower than in Q1. So what this probably tells us is that the general interest in tech investment hasn't entirely rebounded after the 2022 slump. And unfortunately, the only startups that really see an increase in the interest are the ones that have to do something with AI. So there is probably this kind of artificial push from most founders to find a way to incorporate AI into their products to raise another round, whether this makes sense or not. And obviously, this has consequences. We've seen a slew of products that just don't make any sense, and they have been using AI for the sake of using AI and maybe appearing on that hyped up list. Friend.com, to name a few of the most controversial ones that have popped up somewhere on LinkedIn recently, quite a lot. So essentially, and Gizmo, a little device that is supposed to be listening to all your conversations, transcribing them somewhere, and sending you replies to your thoughts using probably ChatGPT to a messenger app or a text message. Super, super creepy. Though when you think about it, it represents a lot of the risks that AI companies are facing. Some are purely technological, some are kind of usability / product issues, which I already mentioned. Is this product still making sense? Are these AI features going to be actually used by anyone, or are they being added because they're AI? And finally, last but not least, the ethical considerations, which are very much intertwined with the technological ones. Because some of the biggest technological challenges are the quality of the outputs based on the quality of the data that these large language models are trained on. As we know, even though there is the illusion that they kind of think logically and are able to analyze and process the data the way humans do, it's not the case. They are just generating the answers that are most probable based on the data they have been fed. So even if the model is performing mathematical calculations, it's not because it understands maths and understands the problems behind the question you asked. It just has analyzed several of very similar answers based on billions of data points. So it's just generating the most probable answer to that question. And that, of course, creates a lot of issues if the answers are not accurate because the data was lacking. The models still hallucinate, so they respond anyway, whether they have enough data or not. And this is especially striking in languages other than English, where the data set that these models have been trained on was much, much smaller. And that in turn creates more, not just technological, but also ethical issues, because if people using certain languages can't use these modals reliably or at all, it creates, more digital exclusion and essentially disincentivizes people from using their own language if they want to be using this technology. So that's a big problem. There is, a business consideration that in other languages, generating the same phrases with the same meaning takes up a lot more tokens. So it's actually simply more expensive, because a lot of inflectional languages like Russian, Ukrainian, Polish, they just have a lot more tokens to express the same meaning as English. And so all these reasons would disincentivize the modal creators from working on languages other than English. So that's one of the considerations. Another obvious one is the accuracy of the outputs. So if they are inaccurate and someone actually follows the advice given by a large language model and does something harmful as a result to themselves or others, who takes the responsibility for it? Who will be accountable for these models and all that comes with the answers that may be misleading or completely wrong? Then again, what about the sort of biases that these models have that are again very cultural? For instance, if you ask the models to generate images, they generate extremely biased views of the world that are based on, the existing stereotypes that are circulating around the net. Is this the way we want to go? Probably not necessarily. If we see, emergence of more and more deep fakes, fake influencers, on social media, showcasing impossible beauty or lifestyle standards, how will this affect, the vulnerable people and their self-esteem, their mental health? These are all the considerations that product managers need to account for when building products. It used to be hard enough previously. Now I think it's even harder for you folks, but you will be facing a lot of pressure to create products using these technologies. So you need to brace yourself for this. But after all, AI can be used for the greater good. I just talked to the husband of a friend of mine yesterday who works in like a medtech startup that uses AI models to accelerate experiments and save on white lab experimentation by recreating creating models of how the cells would react under certain conditions. So fascinating stuff. And, I'm not a Luddite. I definitely do believe that using these large language models is the future. But, we need to be super conscious not to throw the baby out with the bathwater, and make sure that actually what we're building is beneficial for the greater good and is not just harmful. So I'm leaving you with these thoughts and a lot of interesting insights here below in the newsletter, linking out to a product drive talk on building AI products in 2024 by Carlos Gonzalez from the Product School. Hope you sign up, and hopefully I will see you all there at Product Drive in October. Let me know what you think about AI product management, and see you next week. Bye-bye.